I'm gonna run, run, run.
Hey friends, Bad Couch Guru Lynn Lindbergh here, and today we are going to talk about Crew 101. This is something that a friend of mine talked me into doing because you guys know by now, I love to try and do everything and anything that comes to health and wellness and fitness. It's part of what I've learned when people ask, what kind of exercise do you like to do? I like to do anything with a friend, and I like to do anything new. So I had a friend of mine who said, hey, Lynn, there's a crew lesson for beginner crew folks. Do you want to do it with me? It's like 2 weeks, 3 days a week, something like that. And I said, well, sure, why not? It worked with my schedule and we'll give it a try. So I did it, and here's what it is. And I'd never, ever done crew before. First of all, I knew that crew was rowing boats, but I didn't grow up really near the water. And so I actually went into this not even knowing the difference between when you row with 2 oars versus you row with 1 oar. So crew typically is when you see those long skinny boats, and there's usually 4 to 8 people in a boat, and there's one person in the boat at the back of the boat yelling at everybody else how to row. And everybody else who's rowing is essentially rowing backwards, and they're listening to the person who's calling out what's happening in the boat. So I'll typically purposely not use too many technical terms here, because one thing I learned with crew is there's a lot of technical terms. So crew is essentially rowing together in a team in a boat, and it's a lot of fun. It was way more fun than I thought it would be. And so if you are thinking you might like to do this, here's what my experience was. And this was actually on Bainbridge Island, where in the Eagle Harbor Bay, where I took these crew lessons. And they have master crew teams there, and they take the newbies and they they taught us all the technical terms of how to row. And then they put us on rowing machines called ergs, which I think is really funny. I'm like, why don't you just call it a rowing machine? And I even asked the instructor, I said, why is it called an erg? And they weren't sure. So, because they're called an erg. But it's a very, very same thing. The rowing machines that you see at a typical gym, same thing. Put you on a rowing machine, teach you the proper mechanics of how to row. Because with rowing, or crew, they call it, most people mistakenly think that it's a big, huge upper body workout, when really it's a full body workout where most of the power is actually coming from your legs. That's why the seats move back and forth on tracks. So you get to sit on a little seat and it moves back and forth on the track, and you use your legs to push you. And with proper form, you can get a massive amount of force into the paddle. You can tell I'm a biker. Into the paddle without having it all come out of your upper body and without straining your back. It's actually really cool when you learn the 4 steps of rowing. So they teach you that on the erg, or I like to call rowing machine, or all of us normal people in the world like to call them rowing machines. Then the next thing that they did before we ever got to touch a boat is they put us in the cutest little boat-looking thing where we got to actually pretend with a real row, or a real oar. And so we're literally, it was essentially a box with an oar on it, and that they sat each of us in and gave us some instructions. And then we're probably 2 hours into our instruction on day 1. Then they pair us up and teach us how to get into these boats and how to get them into the water, and how to row. And so from the beginning of class to within 2 hours, they had us out there looking like we knew what we were doing. We didn't know what we were doing. And there were a couple times the boat got pretty tippy. But I got to tell you, once we got rowing and we got the rhythm going, it was a really surreal experience of being out there on the water and feeling like nothing else existed, because there's so much to concentrate on in a crew with the oar in your team, and you're using your peripheral vision to see everything around you. There's just so much that it's just really easy to forget everything else existed. And I loved that. It was such a stress relieving thing. And then when we would stop and take a break, we were in the middle of the Eagle Harbor and everything was just way out there. The houses were on the shoreline. The ferry was far away. You could see Seattle skyline, 6 miles away. It was awesome. And so if you're somebody who likes a team sport, but also likes to be solitude, and you're somebody who wants a full body workout, and you love nature, and you love the rigor and the science of it, rowing could be a really amazing mind-body experience for you that I would highly, highly recommend giving a try. Bye-bye now. Exercise should not be dreadful, but getting off the couch, we know, is the hardest exercise of all. Did you know that Couch to Active has an app? It's the easiest way to keep track of and follow the Couch to Active podcast. So head on over to your app store, and it doesn't matter whether you're on an iPhone, a tablet, or an Android device. Search for Couch to Active, that's T-O Active. Download the app and check it out. Bye-bye now.